Hello and welcome everyone, it is me, TheLaval, also known as the Power To-Do List, back for you with a new deck profile. I am so hyped to finally be able to share with you guys. It is of course Morphtronics, but with a Machina twist that kind of changes this from a high octane combo deck into a more mid-range control option. And yeah, just as always, we will be covering main, extra, and side deck for these profiles where I kind of share my deck of the format. But yeah, starting the main deck are 3 copies of Morphtronic Cellphone. While in attack position, you roll a 6-sided die, reveal that many cards from the top of your deck, and summon a level 4 or lower Morphtronic from those cards. In defense position, you can just look at the cards depending on your die roll. Definitely the key playmaker, even in this deck. You want to get to this guy. He is not as central. He is in other Morphtronic builds, but you definitely still want to see this guy and use them to swarm the field and get your Morphtronics out of the deck. Then the other big consistency Morphtronic in Morphtronic Smartphone. This is a level 1 tuner you can special summon by banishing a Morphtronic monster from your graveyard. While in attack position, you can roll a 6-sided die, reveal that many cards from the top of your deck, and add a Morphtronic card from those to your hand. This is still a really good effect, even if you have less targets in deck than in, your usual Morphtronic profiles, since you don't run the repair unit here. And while in defense position, you can roll a die and stack the cards depending on the die roll. But yeah, those are your 2 big consistency Morphtronics, and with those 2 out of the way, I'd say we get into the Machina portion of this profile. Starting off with 2 Machina Citadel. This card cannot be normal summoned or set, has to be special summoned by a card effect. And if an Earth machine you control gets destroyed in any way, shape, or form, you can special summon this guy from the graveyard. Also, quick effect, you can target a machine you control, pop everything your opponent controls that has equal or lower attack than the targeted machine, and afterwards that machine gets destroyed. Because this says destroyed, this of course leads to some cool interactions with Power Tool Dragon, since Power Tool Dragon can just get rid of an equip spell to protect himself from being destroyed. But this is definitely one of your main playmakers. You want to get this guy into rotation as fast as possible and, kind of get your opponent out of resources using the board nuke effect. But yeah, getting into another Machina in Metal Cruncher. While you control no cards, you can normal summon him without tribute, but make his attack 1800. And if he hits the board, you can reveal 3 Earth machines from your deck and add 1 to your hand. Funnily enough, this adds Cellphone, this can add Smartphone, or a myriad of other Morphtronic monsters. He's definitely a really cool option to summon off Overdrive if you already have a Citadel in rotation. But he is more like a second option that can help you get out Earth machines or just a body you can put on the board. And another body you can put on the board is Machina Fortress. You can discard level 8 or you can discard machine monsters that equal level 8 or higher to special summon this from hand or graveyard. If this gets destroyed by battle, you can pop a card your opponent controls, and if this gets targeted by a monster effect, you can rip a card out of your opponent's hand. Definitely a great card, helps you in your turn 1 setups because it's just an additional Earth machine body. And also is just something your opponent has to think twice about in which way he wants to out it. Next up, Machina Unclaspar. If this gets added to your hand by any way that isn't drawing, you can special summon it, and if this guy gets special summoned, you are locked into machines for the rest of the turn, and you also can dump a Machina from deck to graveyard. Main play being you add this guy in Citadel off your redeployment and dump a Fortress. But this is a really easy to get on the board level 4 for your Power Tool Dragon. Getting into the rest of the Morphtronic lineup, we play 3 Remoten for those sweet machine duplication plays, even if I cut down on the duplications. Once per turn, while in attack, you can banish a Morphtronic from grave to add a Morphtronic with the same level from deck to hand. And while in defense, you can discard a Morphtronic and add a Morphtronic with the same level as the discarded one from graveyard to hand. Definitely still opens up some cool plays and is a level 3 tuner that easily enables you to go into your level 7s, mainly Power Tool Dragon. Then we have 3 copies of Morphtronic Scope Pen. While in attack position, you can once per turn special summon a level 4 Morphtronic from hand, but it gets popped during the end phase, which also leads to some quite fun interactions with Citadel. And while in defense, he is treated as a level 4 tuner. Great tuner, but in general, he is here to make Power Tool Dragon. Then, going into some level 4 non-tuner Morphtronics, we played 2 copies of Staplen. While in defense, he is not able to be destroyed by battle, and if he's attacked, he swaps to attack at the end of damage step. Swaps an opponent's monster from attack to defense, so he easily is able to tank 2 hits, so setting him can sometimes be a really decent play. And while in attack, your opponent has to attack him, and the monster that destroys him loses 300. Getting into the next non-tuner Morphtronic, we have Morphtronic Boombox. And while in attack position, this guy can attack twice. And while in defense, this guy can once per turn negate an attack on a Morphtronic monster. So yeah, also a great card that will find its uses. Then I still play the one Vacuuman. While in defense position, this guy can equip himself with an opponent's attack position monster. This definitely helps you get over some quite problematic monsters, because this deck struggles to remove some bigger threats from the board or things that do not that can't be destroyed. And Vacuuman kind of helps with that because he is readily available and easily searchable. Then some power 1-offs. We play the 1 Monster Reborn for some extra revival and the 1-for-1 to get some Self-on access or Vacuuman access depending on the situation, but mostly Self-on. So those are neat. Tested with Foolish, but didn't find it too hot. 1 copy of Machine Duplication. If you find more space in the deck by cutting some traps, you can definitely run more. But yeah, targeting a 500 attack or lower machine, summoning up to 2 copies from the deck, definitely is still an absolutely amazing play in combination with cards like Self-on or the Remoten, and can lead to some really silly advantage generation, which is why this card is still awesome in the deck. Getting into our very slim equip spell lineup, we play 3 Gravity Blaster. You can only equip this to a machine. Once per turn, you can make that machine gain 400 attack, which is a permanent boost that sticks even if this card leaves the field, which is very important for Power Tool Dragon. Since you can make Power Tool Dragon 27, pop, target him for the Citadel, target him for the Overdrive. He protects himself, but he still retains the boost and is still 2700, which makes him that much harder to run over if your opponent can't out him by card effect. Also, when the equipped monster attacks an opponent's monster, that monster has its effects negated until the end of the battle phase. Really neat effect, really unappreciated effect, I feel like, but this is definitely a really cool equip spell that you can take a lot of advantage of in this deck. Then the 4th equip spell, kind of for the mathematics of it. 1 copy of United We Stand, helps without decaying, makes your Power Tool Dragon bigger so you can pop more with Citadel. And this is kind of here to, pad out the numbers a bit in case you draw an equip spell that your Power Tool Dragon isn't instant dead. Capping off the spell lineup is the absolutely amazing search card that is Machina Redeployment. You can either discard a card to add 2 Machina monsters with different names from deck to hand, or you can discard a Machina card to add 2 Machina cards from deck to hand with different names. As mentioned, your main play with this is to add a Citadel and to add an Unclass Bar. Unclass Bar will dump Fortress, and Fortress will special summon itself by discarding the Citadel. Which is really cool, gets you your basic setup going, and definitely lets you make something happen. Then we play 3 Machina Overdrive. Access to Citadel is easy enough, and making it a bit easier can't hurt too much, because you can target a machine on the field, or a machine you control, summon a Machina monster from your deck with a different name than the targeted monster, pop the monster, summon that Machina, and you can also banish this from the grave to shuffle back 3 of your banished or in graveyard resting machines and draw a card. Gives you some follow-up on turn 3 and beyond, and enables you to recur your Morphtronics if you go through some of them, which you kind of often can do if you open the machine duplication, or just, start chaining those Self-ons. But yeah, this definitely helps in accessing Citadel just a bit more, and is also a very neat trap trick target. Then a very neat card in Torrential Tribute. Gives you an additional layer of interruption. You could probably cut this for more combo pieces, but I just like Torrential Tribute a lot. In many cases, you don't really care about this. Power Tool Dragon can protect himself as well as some other synchro monsters I can go over later. And in some cases, if you blow up a stray Earth Machine with this, you can recur your Citadel, which is what you want to do to kind of run your opponent out of resources. But yeah, Torrential Tribute is definitely a great main deck card, which is also trap trickable. I play the one just, to have a 4th Torrential and a 4th Machina Overdrive to fix the numbers a bit. And maybe also because I only have one ultra rare one, but that's beside the point. Yeah, this just helps fix some numbers and gives you some versatility in grabbing your Torrentials or Overdrives, which is kind of nice. And capping off the main deck is a kind of fun card in Power Break. You can only activate this if you control a face-up Power Tool Dragon. You can target up to 3 equipped spells that are on your field or in your graveyard, shuffle them back into the deck, and burn your opponent for 500 for each card shuffled back. Cool card. You will probably side this out the most. But this definitely helps keep your equipped spells in rotation as well. Then starting off the extra deck are 2 Power Tool Dragons, not 3. The third one's on the mat today. You can reveal 3 equipped spells from your deck. 1 gets randomly added to your hand, and if he would be destroyed by a card effect, you can instead get rid of 1 equipped spell. This format playing the common one, just because I think he looks really clean. What can I say about this card that I already haven't said? I think this card is amazing, leads to some really fun interactions in this deck with Overdrive, Citadel, and Torrential Tribute, and is definitely one of the key cards in this deck that you really, really, really want to get to when playing. Then we of course play his evolved form and Livestream Dragon for those burn heavy matchups, or to make our life points become 4000 if we need it. And also, for the bigger attack and the protection. Then I play the 1 Scrap Dragon. This also gives you some really neat spot removal, because once per turn you can target a card you control and 1 card your opponent controls, pop both targets. If you popped an Earth Machine, you guessed it, you can summon back Citadel, and if you targeted Power Tool, you may be able to just protect them. So this also gives you some really neat spot removal. Second effect is scrap related, but you can easily make this guy, and he definitely helps you with outing some cards. Then I play the 1 Samurai Destroyer. If he attacks an opponent's monster, that monster has his effect. Or your opponent cannot activate cards or effects until the end of the damage step, and that monster's effects are negated until the end of the battle phase. And if he is destroyed or gets outed by an opponent's card effect, you can special summon a machine monster from grave, which gives you some really nice recursion for your machines. You can even revive Citadel if he leaves the field by non-destruction. And if he gets destroyed, you can summon back Citadel or just grab back one of your other machines. So that is also great. Earth Machine in general is a really good combination for the extra deck. Cyber's Quantum Dragon, also here to out some problematic stuff that can't be destroyed, because, first of all, if you control a Link, your opponent has to target him for attacks and card effects. And if he attacks an opponent's monster, you can bounce that opponent's monsters at the start of the damage step, and he can attack in a row, which is really cool. It helps you definitely get over some tricky stuff, which this deck sometimes can struggle with. But yeah, he's a great card. I've been loving to play him as soon as I discovered him. But yeah, moving into another level 7 option in FA Dawn Dragster, just to give you some spell and trap negation, which is really cool. Now onto a level 6 option empowered in Zektron. When this card is synchro summoned, it can't be destroyed by battle or card effect in that turn, and you take no damage for that turn. This leads to some really fun interactions, because if you make this on your opponent's turn with Formula Synchron, you can essentially Torrential for free, target this for your Machina Overdrive for free, which is kind of cool. Still is a machine, so you can still summon this under Unclasp Bar, which is why I run this instead of, for example, a Stardust Charge Warrior. Then we play 1 Super Heavy Samurai Sword Master Musashi. This is a level 5 Synchro monster that on Synchro Summon adds back a machine monster from graveyard. And if you have a spell or trap in the graveyard when you added back that machine, you cannot activate that machine's effect and summon machines with the same name for the rest of the turn, which is kind of sad sometimes because sometimes you can't summon them without spells, using a spell. But if you do, you can definitely grab back a smartphone and easily enable a follow-up synchro play. And also, the standard super heavy samurai effect that he uses his defense as his attack if he's in defense mode and can still attack while in defense. Naturia Beast. Locking your opponent out of spells is really good. Especially nowadays when no one runs traps anymore, except me apparently. But yeah, non-once per turn, dump 2 cards from the top of your deck to negate an opponent's spell. Really strong effect. You play this because you can make it, and it can win you some games on its own. Next up, Armory Arm, your level 4 option if you can make it or you need to make it. You can equip this to a monster you control. That monster gains 1000 attack, and if it destroys a monster by battle, your opponent takes damage equal to the destroyed monster's attack. Really great effect, has some good synergy with Power Tool Dragon, and also helps you to, pump your attack points higher for your Citadel pops. Citadel nukes, rather. But yeah, definitely still a really cool card that helps this deck. Also a machine, so summonable under Unclass Bar. One formula Synchron, you can easily make this between cell phone and smartphone. Draws a card on Synchro Summon, which is nice to give you some further plays. And also is able to Synchro Summon on your opponent's turn. As mentioned, you mostly want to use that with your powered Insectron to get that protection on the opponent's turn. Then the one Levier the Sea Dragon for your Remoten machine duplication plays, because your main play is machine duping Remoten, turning 2 of those into a Platinum gadget. Using the remaining Remoten to search Scopen, summoning the Scopen of the Platinum gadget, and yeah, turning Scopen and Remoten into Levier after, of course, using Scopen's effect, and continuing to play from there. Then the small link lineup, as already shown, the Platinum gadget is still here. You make them with 2 machines, and once per turn you can special summon a level 4 or lower machine to a zone he points to, which is really great, helps you extend your plays, and also set up some synchros. And then capping off the extra deck is a copy of Link Kuribo. You do play an awful lot of level 1s in cell phone, smartphone, and Vacuuman, and sometimes those get left behind. But this deck definitely has some scenarios where you don't want to make the Link Kuribo for that extra battle protection, because you want to leave that extra level 1 around for your Machina Overdrives, or just to have an Earth machine on the field that you can easily get rid of to summon back your Citadel. But he really definitely is a great option that helps you combat some battle-focused shenanigans. Then getting into the side deck, I am starting off with 2 copies of United We Stand. This is, for those matches where you have to play the more OTK-focused playstyle, with which this deck definitely still can do. And this amazingly helps with it, because gaining 800 attack for each monster you control is still a powerful effect, which is why I am currently citing it. Then I play 3 Double Tool C&D. I still really like this card. I think the negation on attack thing is really cool. Gives you some extra equip spells to cycle through with Power Tool Dragon. But this definitely may or may not find its way cut if I don't really see it rise up that much. But again, a side deck is always dependent on what matchups you will find yourself playing the most against and what your local meta game is, I think. Then getting into some power one-offs, we have Harpy's Feather Duster against those back row decks to wipe the back row clean, and Called by the Grave against some graveyard effects and hand traps. This deck kind of has no real big way to deal with back row besides Feather Duster and the Storm Dusters I play later down the line, so maybe a copy of Red Reboot would also be worth thinking about. But those 2 are definitely the power one-offs I am rocking with today, or at the moment. But as mentioned, you can fit your side deck to your needs. I cite 2 copies of Machine Duplication. If you find space for this in the main deck, good for you. Or if you want to play the more combo-focused build, I guess, you can definitely find place for this in the main deck. But I still want to have it here to, be able to kind of smoke screen into a more combo OTK-focused build. But for the, main part of it, I really enjoy this grindier, slower, kind of mid-range style deck. Then, as mentioned, a playset of Heavy Storm Duster. This is also trap trickable, which is the really nice part about this, because this deck aims to go first. You can target 2 spells and traps on the field, pop those targets, but you can't conduct your battle phase the turn you activate this card, which is a really great option for, you know, a going first kind of more back row focused deck that helps you in some back row focused matchups. This could also be an MST or Cosmic Cyclone, but I just want to test with Heavy Storm Dusters for now. And yeah, the last side deck card, Dimensional Barrier. Sometimes getting rid of a problem card is really hard. So the easiest way to not be in that situation is by preventing your opponent from Ritual, Fusion, Synchro, Xyz, or Pendulum summoning for 1 turn, to give you an extra turn to maybe set up more stuff or to swing for a game, because this deck really struggles with outing big monsters that have destruction protection. Shout out to Chaos Max Dragon and Ancient Gear Chaos Giant for proving me that sometimes nuking the field just isn't enough. But yeah, you really need to fix the side deck down to what you think you will be playing against. Those are just options that I considered because I play against those things a bit more regularly. But I definitely really enjoy this kind of controllier, more mid-range style version of Morphtronics in combination with the Machinas. I think it looks great just looking at the list, and I'm really happy with how this turned out. So yeah, I would like to know what you think of this list below. Do you think this is a very interesting take on the deck? Have you tested this? Have you tested something similar? Definitely let me know down below. And with all this out of the way, I will thank you guys very much for watching, and I will see you guys again next time. But until then, goodbye.